The Strat-O-Matic Ratings Extravaganza 2022 continues with the National League East. Diamond Diehards is on. Joe Rizzo here bringing you Strat-O-Matic Baseball. We do the 6-part series to get you ready for the upcoming release of the 2022 season as we close the calendar on the year numbered that. But, once 2023 hits, the first thing you Strat heads are thinking about is when can I get my hands on that set? And we are doing a 6-part series. We've done the American League 3 divisions, and we jump into the National League now. And if you want to check it out, if you haven't seen all of them or heard all of them, subscribe anywhere you're catching this. If you're on YouTube or on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you hit subscribe, follow, whatever it is, and go check out the whole series because it's an annual thing, and it gains a lot of traction for us, and we're glad to do it with our pals at Strat-O-Matic. One of them is the great Jerry Milani, who is with us, the Strat Insider, and of course, the Dawg, Jeff Healy, as well. And we jump right into it. Dawg, we talked about this guy. So here's the way we're doing it. If you haven't caught any of the other shows, we're doing it by division. Obviously, you probably figured that out. And then we're breaking it down by position. And on our end, we're sorting it by who has the best fielding rating to who has the worst. 1 is the best. 5 is the worst. If you don't know too much about Strat-O-Matic, go to stratomatic.com and find out more because it's really cool. And if you're a baseball fan or a sports fan and you're into data and probability and all that stuff, it's a very cool existence to be part of the stratosphere. Dawg, we talked about JT Realmuto when he was a free agent. You were very, very bullish on the Mets signing him. They didn't. They signed James McCann. There is one fielding rating 1 among catchers in the AL and the NL East from 2022, and that is
JT Realmuto. Yep, no surprise on that one. Strat's right on top of it on that one. Clearly the best catcher in the division, and very deserving of the one. So yeah, JT's the one on top, and yeah, boy, wish we pointed up that extra $4 million a year.
I mean, you say that now, but you do have your catcher of the future who debuted inauspiciously in the biggest series of the season and kind of fell flat. It was maybe not set up to succeed, but
1 homer. He hits. He no catch yet.
Yeah, he will. I think he will. I think he'll be fine there.
He'll be all right. So,
but there's a bunch of 2s, and one of them is James McCann from the Mets, who had an embattled year, Dawg, but he's on the move in real life to Baltimore.
Yeah, kind of disappointing all around. I would say for a Mets signing, and also we didn't hate the signing, right? I was hoping for Realmuto. It seems somewhat like the value play with McCann, a little bit less power, a little bit less average, and slightly less defense, but you're getting a slightly cheaper player, and it just really comes through. So I mean, for the strat rating, so forth, he gets a 2. So I mean, that's solid, and that's accurate. I would say reflective of this play. He is a good fielding catcher. So I think that was kind of spot on. It's interesting. Actually, next guy down, Darno from
well, hold on, don't jump ahead. I want
I'm doing the whole Met guys together.
Oh, I know, and I'm gonna let you finish off the Mets here, and then we're gonna move to Jerry. We'll talk about the other guys. So so we did mention him not by name, Francisco Alvarez. Yep. Gets the 4. He's only in the computer set. He won't have a card.
Barely appeared.
So he gets a 4, but Tomas Nido also ends up with a 2. So that maybe was one of the differences for the Mets, as Nido probably caught more innings than any other Met this year, I'd say, and he gets the 2.
Yep, and again, another good fielding catcher for that, and again, sort of strengthening up the middle, and we'll see it later on with Nimmo as well in center, right? That they really sort of strengthened up the middle. So that was positive, and Patrick Mazeika also sneaking in there for the Metsies. So yeah, a fan fave who when he had more game-winning RBIs than hits, like 2 game-winning RBIs. Still didn't have a hit.
Fielder's choice.
Exactly. that was he was pretty fun. And again, he also actually had to move. So yeah, it's pretty good fielding wise, at least from the catching position, and a little bit of hitting. And so not terrible, but not a strength, but that's kind of not too unusual for baseball.
At the time, my defense of the McCann signing over the d'Arnaud signing was that it was less years, less money, less risk. He didn't quite work out the way you wanted to, but here's the thing. They were able to get out from under that contract and get the player traded. Whereas, okay, Real Muto played in the World Series, right? Was a big important player for the Phillies. He's the centerpiece, but you do now. You don't have your top prospect, literally the top prospect in baseball, Francisco Alvarez. He's not blocked anymore. And if you had Real Muto, he would be blocked. So you would be sitting here having to make a difficult decision rather than an easy decision, which was to move on from McCann. So we'll move on through the rest of the important catchers that you care about. Jerry, Travis d'Arnaud has company now in Sean Murphy, but last year playing the bulk of the innings behind the plate for the Braves, he gets the 2.
Yeah, and look, we all thought d'Arnaud was going to be the Mets catcher of the future before any of these other moves had to be made. He was the heir apparent when they made the trade for him. He was the centerpiece of that trade. But it ended up not being the centerpiece of the trade. But he ended up bouncing, but then finding home. I mean, I guess Tampa resurrected his career, right? And then now he's moved on in Atlanta, and maybe it's better that he's going to split time with Murphy and play some DH, play some catcher, maybe one of them will play a little time in the field, maybe somewhere at third base, first base, just to get the bat in the lineup if they want. But yeah, again, catcher ratings, we really should have. What we don't have on here is the arm, which is kind of maybe more important than the range factor in a lot of cases for the catchers. But yeah, just having, man, a lot of Mets connections here with the catchers, but you said it too, just clearing McCann out to let Alvarez play, and with that team, Nito will start the season probably as the catcher, I would guess, and you work him in, and then you see by May or June if he's going to be your guy, and then the 4 is just because he was so few games. I mean, again, sometimes the ratings are based not only on what the physical tools are, but if they only played a few games, they're going to start them out with a 4 just so that, for the accuracy of playing the game as well.
The guys on the move in that deal that brought Sean Murphy to Atlanta are Wilson Contreras' brother. He was a 4, so he moves from Atlanta and ends up in Oakland, and Manny Pena, a computer-only player, a 2, so a better defensively ranged guy, ends up in I think he ended up in Milwaukee. I could be wrong on all that. I don't know. Manny Pena has been around for a while. He's not like a young player. Just one other note there. I'd say Keibert Ruiz, the guy who was the centerpiece of the Max Scherzer, Trey Turner deal from a catching standpoint, gets the 3 in Washington. And Jacob Stallings, who was kind of a big deal. He was traded away from the Pirates to the Marlins in the offseason last year, goes from the Gold Glove to getting a 3 behind the plate. And that might sum up a little bit why, as we give you a little preview here, that might sum up a little bit why you'll see some teams in Strat terms, they'll have consistently higher fielding ratings around the diamond. Other than the teams that, the teams that were more successful have more better fielders on their roster typically. And we'll see that probably as a theme throughout the NL East. And as we move to first base, we have a very interesting case here. There's 3 ones. One is a computer player, one's an additional player, and one is Matt Olson from the Braves. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Olson, I think, was the Braves' choice. They made their choice. That's the way they wanted to go, and that was for youth and for efficiency at first base and also at the plate. And so when they made that decision to go that way, they were rewarded with him being a top player. And then, Lewin Diaz and Eric Gonzalez, I don't know much about those guys. I know they drew 1s, which is rare for for kind of part-timer players, but then interestingly, no 2s. in the division among first basemen.
Yeah, and you have only 3 threes, and they're all like well, I shouldn't say
Two of
all,
them
but
are
two
two
of them are
aren't
not even from the position.
first
So
baseman.
Real Muto gets a 3 at first. Miguel Rojas, I didn't even know the Marlins ever played him at first. Why would you ever move him off shortstop? He's so good. More on him when we get to shortstop. He'll be at the top of the list. And Dominic Smith.
How's a what at short wind up being a 3 at first too?
I don't know. I mean, he just probably even if he stood there,
probably
even if
very
he
few innings. Yeah, I would
just
say
stood
probably
there
very few innings.
for an inning, and they're like, it's Miguel Rojas just on range alone. Like he can't, like he can't give him a 4 or 5. But yeah, real just kind of strange to see. I almost feel like you might have to check with the guys in the home office, Jerry, and see if that's some kind of misprint on Eric Gonzalez and Lewin Diaz, a computer player and an additional player respectively in the strat set to get ones over there. I suppose it's possible. But it seems like there might be a little smoke there. Why don't we move over? We want to Pete Alonso.
Dom Smith.
I tell you, I mentioned him. He's the only guy that's actually a regular at the position. That's a 3.
Pete Alonso Vogelbach got your 5.
Yeah. Okay.
Well deserved.
Pete Alonso gets the 4, which
that's an eye test only, really. Okay. Yeah, you're a 5, dude.
Rhys Hoskins got a 4, but he played like a 5 in the World Series. I think a lot of people felt they were very, very upset with their first baseman's fielding. But he hit a lot of big home runs, and his wife bought like 50 beers for the whole section in like every game. So it's a pretty good way to hit bombs and have buy beers for a section. That's a pretty good way to curry favor in Philly. Coming from a guy named Rizzo, I think that's
knows his audience.
Yeah, know the audience. Dawg, we go to second base. Luis Guillorme gets the 1.
Oh, I guess nice. I didn't know that. That's awesome. That I hadn't peeked ahead on him. That is very cool. That's I would say very well deserved. Yeah, shows he kind of get hosed on the whole Gold Glove thing with the whole utility spot. So it was kind of a shame. I thought the guy deserved it, but it's nice to see at least Strat giving him the hook.
So what does that mean now for your future? Like that, you'd feel like, wow, he's kind of established himself in Strat. Do they recognize it as much, from Buck Showalter saying, hey, I want to put this guy in there, make the defense like super rock solid now that you have Correa. Correa goes over, plays third. Lindor plays, of course, the great shortstop. Guillorme at second. Is Jeff McNeil really an outfielder? Is he more valuable like as a chip to get you something else? Maybe help formidable help in the bullpen, or do you just let him walk after this year? That's the way. So what I'm trying to give fans now is a way that the Strat player takes their Strat-O-Matic knowledge and then morphs it into like what might happen in real life. How'd I do? Is that a good job on that?
I think that's excellent on there. I mean, there's a lot of flexibility and a lot of depth as well, which has been a problem for the Mets for a long time. And that's kind of like the last thing teams add, right? It's like the depth to handle injuries and so forth. And now they've bought that with the Correa kind of coming in. To kind of puts, that it just pushes everyone down the notch right now. Escobar is a fantastic guy to come off the bench. Right, or potential trade shit or something like that. Potential with Gourmet as well. I mean, it's sort of interesting if you're playing around. Like, would you go with like first if you could just do it for just Strat, right? Like, would you want to have Correa as a 1 second baseman versus than a 1 short 1 third base? Like, if you're gonna move off the position, right? You'd rather maximize the chances at a second base. But
maybe
in real life, like it's hard to switch the sides, right? So whereas in Strat, it seems like you can always sort of do that. It's tough to do in real life, though.
When a guy goes from short to third in real life, whether it's in Strat or not, in real life, he might change. I mean, you saw A-Rod got bigger, like his profile as a batter, and he doesn't have to be as flexible as if he's moving to second. he
Yep.
can't really bulk up and be more of a power guy. If he moves
Yeah.
to third, he can do that, and maybe that's part of why.
And it's
these
kind of
guys
it's
go
interesting
third
that
base.
you say too, Jerry, like, because a lot of times like the second baseman are turning into like the bigger players and more like the hitters and stuff. It sort of
They
seems like more of a
were,
trend. Yeah.
but now with the shift ban, you're gonna maybe go back to second
The way it
baseman
was.
have to
Mhm.
be more athletic and less just the third baseman that you put there.
Yeah.
And with the Mets,
point.
I mean, you saw McNeil's a 2 at second. So even though, Luis is a 1 at second and you'd love to have a 1, you don't lose a ton by having a 2, as opposed to putting him in the outfield where he's a 3 with a plus arm,
Yeah.
which we'll get to later. But you brought up, Riz, that he's, what do you think about putting him in the outfield? Do you improve your second base defense and, takeaways from the outfield, but is that going to help your, it's going to help your lineup as well? So think of it defensively, but also what's the trade-off offensively?
Yeah, he's special as a second baseman. He's sort of middle of the road for an outfielder.
For the outfielder, again, if his offensive
Just
profile
as a batter, yeah.
put him as a left fielder or a right fielder, I don't know. He feels like a second baseman to me, the way he plays, the way he plays defensively.
I'll tell you what, he's like a perfect guy for the Yankees to get if he ever goes on the market. Like, fits in for the Yankees in like myriad ways. He could play left field for them every day and just bat second. He's like perfect.
You could throw him in. Yeah, you could throw him in left, depending on what things work out. I mean, I think by next year, this time, they'll have a better feel for what their young guys can do at the Yankees, and does somebody like McNeil fit in? Would Conforto have been somebody who would have fit in? Had he not signed elsewhere? I don't know.
So the other twos over there, Joey Wendell, the move from Tampa to Miami. He's a great fielder, no batting gloves, runs a lot, dirty, dirt dog kind of player. He gets the 2 over at second. Ozzie Albies, of course, the 2 for the Braves. He might have been a 1 if he was healthy the whole season. Jazz Chisholm moves up. He gets the 2 as well. So a lot of good second basemen in terms of defense in the NL East. Bryson Stott will do him as a shortstop. And let's see, I just fired down here. Gene Segura gets a 3. We'll see if he's, looking for a different uniform to wear still. I think as of this moment, he hasn't signed anywhere yet. And I don't think he's going back to Philly, but he'd be a good bat for somebody to get, and he could still play. Dawg talked about Escobar, but we'll talk about him as a third baseman instead. And I think most of these other guys are Vaughn Grissom. Actually, he's an interesting guy because the Braves, they're going to have to see what they're doing with their middle infield with the departure of Dansby Swanson. So, is Albies going to be a guy that they decide to try over at short, or is it going to be Vaughn Grissom? There's definitely concerns about, his defense more than his offense. So we'll see, but he gets a 4 at second, and we'll give it away. He gets a 4 at short too. Dawg Robinson Cano got
I knew you're going there.
This time.
Don't you know?
And Williams Astudillo got the 5.
Yeah, Williams Astudillo got the 5. He's only a computer player, but like at least he stood there. He didn't catch though at all. He pitched probably more. He pitched more than he caught because he definitely pitched. Oh, and John Birdie, the stolen base leader in the NL, he does get the 3. We'll just do him all over the place because he plays everywhere. 3 at second, a 2 in the basic game, 3 at third, 4 at short, 3 in left, and a 4 in center for John Birdie, the stolen base champion. I think he led the majors actually, and not just
valuable player, right? Good guy to have on the roster, right?
Yeah, if you got a guy who's a 3 at 3 different positions, I mean, that's pretty versatile. I mean, there's guys who have 4s, they play 3 more positions with some 4s, but you got him and you got Matt Vierling, guys who have 3s at multiple spots, 2 or 3 spots. It could help when you're thinking about a Strat-O-Matic roster. Riz, you talked about this on one of the other shows, just having a guy who you can plug in. Now, sometimes you want to have a 2. You don't have too many guys who are 2s at multiple spots, like Joey Wendell, but if you get a guy who's a 3 at 3 different places, that the flexibility that teams need now, having 13 pitchers on their roster sometimes out of the 26 guys, is more than ever. You need guys who can play 3 positions and get you more than just being a 4 at all those positions.
I'm waiting for the chat note where Dawg tells us that we're trending on like doing a 4-hour show here. On to third base.
It's okay. It's the NL East. We can go long.
Yeah, I know. On to third base in the NL East. Topping that again, Luis Guillorme and Joey Wendell. I see. I call him Guillorme before. I call him Guillorme now. And Joey Wendell, both are 2s. And here we go with Eduardo Escobar as well. You do expect the 2 over there, and he gets it. He's a 4 at second as well, but certainly good defense for the switch hitter, up and down all year with the bat. Maybe more of a utility role this year if he's even around. I think there's 1 year left on the deal. But a handy player who's going to need to for sure play multiple positions for the Mets if he wants to hang around and be useful. Or Orlando Arcia, who was the guy that the Braves just plugged in when they needed him. He did. I guess we mentioned that he got a 2 at second. He's a 3 at third and short, and he's a 4 in left field. So we'll see. I think he's a free agent though. Austin Riley, the star from Atlanta, gets the 3 at third. And he's one of these guys, Jerry, with the long contract now that the Braves have signed. Way before free agency was pending. So Austin Riley with the 3, does he have a chance to continue to improve that? I'm kind of surprised. I feel like he's a little bit better than a 3. Maybe he's one of these 2.6s.
Yeah, and I think too, like you said, that there's a long-term investment there, and sometimes Strat looks at it also in terms of will there be a chance for improvement down? Okay, yeah, he's a 3 now, and maybe not quite convinced. That they're, to get to a 2, because 2 is a really good rating at third base, as evidenced by there's only 3 of them in the entire division. I think that 3 is the bulk of what you see there. It's kind of your third base. Mostly your regular third baseman in the division are 3, and I think that strategy that Atlanta has of locking guys up, he's one of those guys that is probably only going to get better.
Okay, let's see if we missed anybody here at third base. Well, Brian Anderson's an interesting one from the Marlins. Primarily, I'd say a third baseman. He gets a 3 over there. He's also a 4 at second. I don't think he spent too much time over there. He's a 3 in left and right, and he has the -3 arm, which kind of makes him even more useful as a guy if you're in Strat-O-Matic and you have access here to the National League. Brian Anderson's a guy who's going to be pretty useful for you, because now he gives you that 3 in the corner outfield, but he does have the big arm out there, and we don't see that too much from a guy whose primary position is in the infield. In fact, among all these guys that are primarily infielders, he's one of the ones with there's only maybe 2 guys I think that even have minus arms out there. Everybody else is either 0 or plus. So good job, Brian Anderson. Alec Baum, Dawg, he's a 4. The E rating maybe is something that you'd be more interested in with Alec Baum. It would have been probably nice if he got a 3. His fielding certainly got better, but he was a guy that nearly cursed himself out of Philly right at the beginning of the season, and then just owned it, and the fans just completely had his back from that moment on.
Yeah, sort of a classic Philly guy in multiple ways there, right? So not afraid of scrapping up with the fans there, and then also just Philly just up and down the lineup. Really, you just see they're really just a weak defensive lineup the whole way through. Didn't stop them too much in the playoffs until the end, but yeah, that clearly has not been a priority for the Phillies, and it shows up in the ratings here.
See, he made 13 errors in 132 games, 124 starts. So that'll project out to about an E like 17, which you can live with if it's a 3.
Yeah.
With a 4, you're going to have a hard time, because the jump from a 3 to a 4 in Strat terms, there's a bunch more hits there. The 3-4, there's a bunch more hits.
It's worse in the outfield, actually. It's worse in the outfield.
Worse in the outfield. His range factor, is right around league average. So surprising that maybe he didn't get the 3, but there's other metrics that have him at pretty significant below below level. So that's kind of maybe where the 4 comes in.
He don't look like a statue, but he sure plays like one.
Got Beatty and Vientos for Mets making their debuts, the 4s.
Yeah, and
Couple guys that need to find another place to be.
so here's one of those where you're looking at the strat ratings and you get when did he play that position? And it's Mark Canha played third base for the Mets, and so did Jesus Aguilar played third base for the Marlins. Like what? And Billy Hamilton played third base. Like, Billy Hamilton, right?
Yeah, Mark Canha played one game there, 8 innings at third base.
Dawg, do you remember that?
I do vaguely remember that. And I forget there was like a couple of guys. It was before Beatty and those guys came
He
up.
didn't start
Escobar,
the game
Yeah,
at
Escobar, I
third
think
base.
got hurt or something like that, or there was something weird like that. Yeah, because normally you'd have like and I think Gormy was out too, if I remember correctly. There was one spot where like they actually really did get kind of pinched. I do remember. I forget who his glove he borrowed to play. Maybe it was Escobar's. I forget to actually play third.
Yeah, he made one play in 8 innings. There were no errors, but it was just one game, 8 innings. Actually played an inning at first base also, Canha.
Yeah, the first base, I wasn't really that surprised at that. And he gets the 4.
Only 1 inning though.
Yeah, but I think he's played there. I think he's played there
Yeah.
before. I think he played there with the A's, but yeah. So that's another great thing about Strat-O-Matic. If you're not, if you're not into it, like you find crap like this, you're like, what? Wait, what was that? Now, and then
I'll be honest, I don't remember playing center. That's probably the bigger one on there.
no, I
Yeah,
did.
he's got-
Actually, at
he
the
started 7 games in center.
yeah.
Man, I
Yeah.
don't remember that. Okay.
Played 71 innings in center field last
And then
year.
I think actually, you know what it might have been when Marte got hurt toward the end of the year and they were moving guys around. Maybe that's
Yeah,
what was in there.
that
Or
must have been
Nimmo
And
was,
then I think it was Nimmo and Marte were both hurt or something like that.
Yeah.
It was something weird like that. And like McNeil was in one spot, but I think McNeil was in right for a while. And I guess Canha was covering that, and maybe they had Smith up to cover in left or something.
so we move to the without argument, the strongest position defensively in the NL East, and it's probably stronger there than it is in any other division in the 2022 Strat-O-Matic set. Shortstops, you have 3 1s, Miguel Rojas in Miami, Dansby Swanson, then for Atlanta, and Francisco Lindor keeps his lock on his one, and even CJ Abrams after he came over at Washington is a 2. So it's you're chock full of good shortstops here with the glove and in the NL Central, Jerry, for 2022.
Yeah, the one team that's
The
missing.
NL East, the NL
Yeah,
East.
the
I said
NL East, the
Central.
one team that's missing, they're having a top shortstop is Philadelphia, and I guess they had hoped to get one more year out of Didi, but that wasn't really the case. Yeah, I mean, you put Rojas, Swanson, Lindor, you can throw them in a hat as terms of who's the best shortstop out of those, and I think any one of them fits. But it kind of shows too that Philly, they punted on defense this year. It was the talk of the offseason last year. It was the talk of the preseason, and some people were poo-pooing it, and some people were saying whatever it was, it worked. It worked out at the end for them. Certainly, they achieved as much as that team could possibly have achieved based on the roster. But yeah, I mean, there's no substitute for having a 1 at short and 1 at second, the way that it comes up in Strat. And we talked about this on one of the other shows. Maybe it shouldn't come up as much anymore because of the balls in play thing, but it does. And having a 1 there just erases a lot of hits.
Yeah. And the guys that played it for Philly, mainly Bryson Stott, he kind of took over in the middle of the season. He does get a 3. It's probably looking up for him. I'm not sure he's going to get ever really higher than a 2. I'm not sure that he'll even get higher than a 3, to be honest with you. But there is another guy who they got from the Cardinals, Edmundo Sosa. He gets a 3. He had limited time. To me, he's a guy that if he ever was able to step up and like own that position defensively, like he's a significantly better fielder, and he would come in also at defense and any of the infield positions. It seemed like that were not first base, and provided like clutch defense in a couple of spots, including basically winning a playoff game with his glove. So it's maybe looking up there. But like Didi Gregorius, when he was there, he was a 4, he was a 3 in the basic, but you could see it was just anybody who played shortstop or practically any other position for the Phillies was really like no better. We'll see at some point if Real Muto behind the plate as a 1, but like did they even have a 2 playing regularly anywhere else? I don't know, but stay tuned because we're going to tell you for sure if they did or not. Before we move to the outfield, if you've been listening to the other shows, you could probably figure out the format that this is the time we're going to tell you a little bit about the people and the companies who help us get here. Big Ed's Car Wash, she's going to be busy probably the next few days, into before and after Christmas. Well, depending on when you're listening to this, it will be after Christmas and before New Year's, probably, but even after New Year's and bad weather, whatever, wherever you are. But if you're in North Jersey, in the Bergen and Passaic County areas, go to Big Ed's Car Wash in Fair Lawn, 17-16 River Road. Your vehicle will go in dirty and it will come out sparkling inside and out. Big Ed's Car Wash, Fair Lawn, New Jersey. To get the word out about what you're doing in 2023 or whatever year it is, because you could be listening to this in 2025 and saying, oh, I'm going to play the 2022 set and I want to have a little preview of what's already been out there for 3 years. But anyway, get the word out. Your printing and promotional needs are all taken care of by fmsgraphics.com. fmsgraphics.com is a family-run, family-owned business for the last 50 years. And they will take care of all your printing and promotional needs, but you have to go there, fmsgraphics.com, to find out. If you plan on relocating in any way, shape, or form, you want to move down the block, you want to move a couple of towns away, you want to move into North Jersey somewhere, the Mascolo Group is going to help you out, serving all of your real estate needs in the Northern Valley and Pascack Valley areas, all of Northern New Jersey. Go to GaryMascolo.com or call 201-615-3665. Rent, own, buy, sell, whatever you want to do. Michele and Gary will get you hooked up. And if the stress of the new year, a lot of times you're in the new year, you're saying, I'm joining a gym. I'm going to work out. Now I'm sore and I can't move my arm. Gatto Acupuncture and Wellness in Glen Rock, New Jersey. Oh boy, Dr. Melissa will figure out what ails you and put you on the road to recovery, whether it's acupuncture or something else. She did a bunch of stuff for me and it was all great. Book online at gattoacu.com or call 551-212-3845. As I say each and every time, and if I don't say it, all of our sponsors can be found in the description of this podcast, whether you are on YouTube, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever. Just go in the description if you want to learn more about those who help us make this show. All right, on to the outfield. I know Dawg was popping some notes in the chat there, but of course I'm reading off of a notebook, so I can't see it. And hopefully I just figure out what he said anyway without having to look. Left field in the NL East for 2023. You got to go all the way down to before you get to a regular player. There's no ones and there's only 1, 2. And it's Jerry, it's Adam Duvall from the Braves.
Yeah, and the Braves, again, have some versatility in the outfield. We'll look when we see further into the outfield. They had, kind of some flux with the season as it went along. But, Duvall's a guy, he plays primarily in left, but you can put him in center and right also. One of those guys, you don't usually see this where they have a different rating in left and right. I guess they're starting to see it more than we used to. But he has the 2 preferred in left and the -2. Which helps as well all around the outfield. But in left field, you get a left field with a -2, and you get an additional bonus of being in left field in terms of arm as well. So it's probably a lot of guys on first stopping at second in your strat if you've got him in left field.
And one wrinkle that we have for the National League here is we do now have access to the outfield throwing arm. So we're going to add that in for you as part of our discussion and probably make the episodes like 4 times as long which, it's great for your, walking on the treadmill, or, you need to get that extra mile in, and you have Diamond Diehards here to help you get through it because of outfield arms, right? We're not going to go back and do it for the American League, but we could maybe throw in a highlight here or there. One of these other episodes. We'll do it as an Easter egg. You could just listen in and figure it out. What's interesting is the computer players and additional players there: Billy Hamilton, Guillermo Heredia, Ender Inciarte, and Travis Jankowski, that are twos and left. They're all twos in center. They're all also twos in right, except for Hamilton, who doesn't appear there. So if you're at the bottom of the barrel here, you do have some good defensive replacement and running type options for to fill out the bottom of your strat roster if you're in the kind of league where you could use those guys. Duvall also gets a 3 in center and a 3 in right. I don't know if you mentioned that, Jerry, but if you did, I'm just being repetitive. We talked about Brian Anderson there as a 3 in left and right with the -3. Dawg McNeil, you kind of mentioned it as well. He's a 3 in left and right. He has a +1 arm, so it's not, he hits enough to kind of carry that for you, right? If you want to play him in the outfield.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that kind of brings him down for an all-star caliber player with the bat and the fielding at second. To he's kind of like a slightly above WAR positive kind of guy, right? For left and right. So it's good. He's good backup that can go out there and spot start for when you need to. Won't particularly hurt you, but you really would like to get more out of that position, either hitting, running, or power in particular, for the outfield. Like if he went back to like his sort of streak when he went power crazy. Remember when those his average was like ridiculous. Then he got like power crazy in the second half of that season. You probably would have to do that to sort of profile more as a corner outfielder.
Although now, I mean, like you have so many guys who don't hit for a high average. It's like if he gives you something that other guys don't do, I mean, you could kind of justify it that way. But I think you're maximizing him when he's playing second. I mean, that's just the best case scenario. There's some interesting stuff here to go over. Marcell Ozuna is a 5 in left with a +3 arm. And he didn't hit much this year, and he wasn't exactly a beacon once again off the field. So F that guy. How about that?
Yeah, there's a DH spot for somebody who might want to do that. I don't know why you would, but there it is.
Character issues are not a big deal in Strat, for sure.
Yeah. Darren Ruff, Dawg, got a 5 in left and right with a +1.
Oof.
Not a fan favorite there.
Yeah.
Time.
Yeah. Can't really argue.
Yeah. The other guy I thought we'd bring up there is Lane Thomas. Washington had their purge, right? So somebody's got to play the position, and he ended up playing 146 games between left, center, and right. He played more left, but he played plenty of the other positions. So when you're drafting guys, it doesn't matter what team he was on. If you're thinking strat, he gets the 3, he's got the -1, the versatility at all the positions, and a pretty good offensive year for a lost season in Washington with God knows when that's going to be good again. Maybe a while.
Yeah, he's one of the Easter eggs there, though. He's a guy that if you're in a strat league where you retain guys year to year and you protect them, he's a good guy. Like he could help you out right away and really might be able to blossom into something pretty nice.
And he's probably available in your league. I mean, he's a guy that played sparingly the year before. Maybe somebody picked him up as a flyer, but maybe not. And he's a guy now that when the year is done, you look up there and he's a regular and he's gonna across the board be pretty efficient for you. A little bit of speed and not a bad player.
So Kyle Schwarber, a solid 4. He's a 3 in the basic game with the 0 arm.
The 3 in the basic seems heroic out there. I was kind of chuckling at that with the boomer lineup out there between Herrera, Castellanos, and Schwarber. Yeah, I mean those are no lies out there. Like I said, I'm actually even a little bit surprised that Schwarber even even got the 4.
Yeah, 4 and left with a 0. It stinks, but like his offense is good enough that
Yeah,
you know
he gets away with it, but
you're going to be
yeah.
okay with that. And in your league, maybe maybe your league is not that deep, and he can end up being a DH for you. You don't have to worry about putting him in the outfield.
I have to say, I got, of course, being in the Northeast here, like I shouldn't say like that I'm limited to seeing. I mean, just because they play the Mets, or did play the Mets 19 times, I probably saw all those games and a bunch of others. But especially also watching him in the playoffs, I was like, I wonder if he's got a chance to be a 3. Like he looked better. Like he looked significantly better in the field to me than he had before. Like he just looked like he tracked balls better. I mean, he's never going to be a 1 out there or a 2, but I thought he was really, I thought he was closing in maybe on a 3, maybe next year. Maybe next
Maybe
year.
that's where the basic 3 comes in also.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
see.
it could be. I want to see if there was anybody else out here. I'm kind of scanning over the arms to make me like to catch my eye. Jorge Soler was in Miami this season. He only played left. He's a 4 with a 0 arm. So that's the World Series MVP from the year before. In his new digs ends up with that. And Nick Castellanos. Well, we'll do Nick.
Plus. I mean, 5 plus 3 in left field. I mean, that's your candidate for the worst defense. That's the worst you could be, unless you're on line, a blank, unless you don't play the field at all. A 5 and plus 3 in left field only is the worst defensive player you can be, I think.
Yeah. Well, in right, it would be worse because your arm probably matters more there.
Yeah, this is true.
Or center, because there's
but that's why he plays left.
I know. He somehow played center.
Left only.
We got to play a season. We should simulate when Strat-O-Matic simulates these things. We should simulate a year of Ozuna playing the entire year in left field as a starter and see what his defensive numbers come out to be.
Yeah, I'll just reiterate the F that guy from before.
Exactly.
In center, Michael Harris, Bradley Zimmer, who was a computer-only player, and Victor Robles get the 1s in center. So that's Bradley Zimmer. Maybe the Phillies should have held on to him. And he's a -3, and so is Victor Robles, 1 -3, and Michael Harris 1 -2. Now, if you could choose any of those 3 for your team, you'd of course take the young stud Michael Harris. But 3 1s in center, that's even if only 2 were regular guys, that's definitely different from the other position that we just mentioned, left field, much stronger here in the NL Central and the NL. Why do I keep saying that? From the NL East, Jer.
Just check my background, see whatever team it is, and then you'll remember which league we're in.
Sid.
No, I remember. We've done so many of these.
It's not just 1s, it's the 1s, but then there's also a nice depth of 2s in center field. When we talk about center field as opposed to left and right in Strat, there's a lot more chances in center than left and right. And your 3s and your 4s, you mentioned it earlier, Riz, the difference on the extra hits in 3s and 4s, those turn into doubles, those turn into triples sometimes. 3-star hits, and that 3 in center is sometimes hard to get away with, and you certainly don't want to play a 4 out there ever if you can avoid it.
Yeah, this is Marsh coming in at for the Phillies. It's a 2, the only regular they had other than Real Muto, who was above a 3. So.
And even that,
strong up the middle.
He was only semi-regular, right? Because he was a trade deadline guy. So and if you listened to the AL West show already, then you kind of knew that.
You stitch him and Zimmer together. They almost have a decent center field. So
yeah,
for the
Nimmo
could have used some numbers left or right if you're a strat head. And you're like, the two plus. Well, it's good to see the 2. Nimmo. We talked about that a little bit last year. About Nimmo and center, so you got the time up there, got us and played a lot better this year, so got himself up to a 2.
Yeah, I got the plus
And-
one arm, which I thought was going to be
Yeah.
a 0, but in
Yeah,
center,
so say if he had like a left field number, he'd be like, okay, perfect
right.
for
You
a
could
guy,
put
good
him in
leadoff
left field
guy.
at 2.
Yeah, and then you got Marte with the 2, still rocking the 2, which is good to see. I mean, he didn't get to play all that often. I wouldn't have been shocked if you saw 3, just
Yeah,
based
he
on
mostly played right
usage.
field, right? He
Yeah.
was your right fielder mostly, right?
Yeah.
Last year.
Yeah, so with 2 -2 in center, that's
You can
you
deal
know,
with that. Yeah.
yeah, it'd be interesting. He'd probably be more valuable than Nimmo from a strat point of view.
With the -2 and then also being right field. And I think offensively he projects better
Close. Yeah.
depending on what you're looking for, right?
Yeah,
Depending on
exactly.
what
A
your lineup
little
needs.
less on base, a little more pop.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It projects if you're just playing the Mets to having, a pretty good outfield across.
Yeah.
You got in Strat, that's probably going to be a platoon in center. Like, I mean, actually Nimmo did pretty well against lefties. I don't have his his splits, his lefty righty splits broken down, but there would definitely be times where
Marte would definitely be the center fielder against a lefty.
Well, I don't know. It depends what kind of lefty it is, right? If it's a lefty that cuts down lefties, maybe for sure. But
yeah,
if
he rocked lefties. So
no, I know, but
he's right better. But
like Nimmo against a reverse lefty, a lot of these lefties don't get lefties out anymore.
That's true.
So he becomes, a valuable asset. That's a Riz type platoon. I got a lefty who hits lefty.
Yeah, lefty gets a lefty.
I got 5 lefties. I got 5 lefties in against Tom Glavine. Yeah, that's how we're doing it. And then the next year, Tom Glavine like totally just cuts down lefties, and we're like, no, I got 9 righties in against Tom Glavine this year. And then the year after that, I got Tom Glavine on my team. Why? Because he's a reverse lefty. And everybody's going to put 8 righties in against him.
So we touched some of the arms, right? Robles and Zim. Any other?
Yeah, you got
it's probably about it for center field, right?
Yeah, I think we got most of it covered there.
Yeah.
Dawg
try to keep us under an hour in the East and the East.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to hustle through that.
Battling Riz here.
Trying to hustle through that last part. We got 2 more divisions to go, boys. We got 2 more to go. Right field, not quite as good. Very similar to left at the very, very top, but way better than left. So here, Jerry, like we talked about center, there were a bunch of 2s. In right, there's a small group of 2s, but really only one regular player, which is Marte, we kind of mentioned, and the others are Guillermo already, who's an additional player, and Ender Inciarte and Travis Jankowski, who we mentioned before from different positions. Those are computer only players, but here you have a ton of 3s, and then the requisite 4s. I mean, there's always a ton of 4s, like in the outfield in the corner, but here you got a lot of 3s up and down.
Yeah, and I think most teams look like, other than those 2s who you said are additional or computer players, 3 feels like what you're going to live with in right, which is what makes, when you have an Aaron Judge or you have, someone who can play, Marte, who can play right field with a 2 or a 1 in that arm, it accentuates how it's going to be better for you, because the 3s are fine, especially if you're getting the offense that you want to get. But even we've all played 4s in right field when we've had to. If it's an offensive guy, that's where we end up kind of trying to hide somebody left or right. But yeah, I mean, you've got a pile of 3s that most of them are the kind of offensive player that's why they're in right field.
All right, can we talk about Bryce Harper?
Shut up! See what the whole show. Don't ruin it for me.
I blew the lead.
So everybody's on the show. They're like, okay, just get through all the BS. Like, tell me the 2 guys I care about in the division are Ronald Acuna and Bryce Harper. So Ronald Acuna is a 3. It always like, he just seems like a guy who should be a 1, but then you watch him field and you're like, oh yeah, like he just needs to get better. But he's got the -3 cannon. So he's a 3 -3 right field only. And then Dawg chomping at the bit
That's just wrong.
for Bryce
I
Harper.
know he's hurt, but that's still wrong.
I'll give you the reveal. Go ahead.
The 4, which is rough enough. Again, he was injured, didn't play a lot, right? So, you somewhat get it. I think it's still a little punitive on that. But the +5 pop gun in right field. Oh my Lord, he's unplayable.
Well, he had surgery. He literally couldn't
know.
throw the ball.
Oh, my
He literally
Lord.
could not pick up a ball and throw it to me.
That's just hurtful.
So this reminds
That's
me.
the age of 8 right there.
This reminds me, you guys. Now we got to go way, 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 way back in Strat. Carlton Fisk one year was recommended by Strat to not be used as a catcher. Do you remember that? Because of his arm. Because the year he hurt his arm, and he was like a +5. Oh yeah, Mike Serra right now is going nuts. This was one of Mike Serra's favorite Strat stories. Yeah, Carlton Fisk one year was like a +5. Strat recommended that you didn't catch him like the regular amount of innings, I think, or that you use him as a regular catcher. I don't know. Maybe Jerry, could you pull him up real quick if you have him? If you have
Do you
it.
remember what year that was?
Was there
89,
a year that he didn't play, like that he missed a bunch of games maybe for the Red Sox in the middle?
Yeah, I'll look it up. But yeah, I mean that, there's, in baseball, like he played 7 games, Harper this year in the outfield, 8 games, 7 games he started. And then not in the rest of the year was because he physically couldn't. So how do you now how do you translate that? Like, how different would the game have been if they hadn't switched over to having DHs in both leagues last year? I mean, he couldn't play at all. You can't hide him at first. You couldn't do anything. He physically couldn't pick the ball up and throw it. So I did Steve Carlton instead of Carlton Fisk.
I think it was 79. I'm pretty sure it was 79. 42 appearances at DH, 35 starts, 39 appearances at catcher.
So maybe he played part of the year, and then so we'll look at 79. But yeah, I mean, sometimes they have to, when they figure out, and now that's going back and looking historically, that's a season they haven't converted. 79 is one of, they call them like a Cadillac and a Chevy season. So the Cadillac seasons are the ones that are kind of completely been researched and redone. 79 is one they haven't gotten to yet. So it'll be interesting when they do eventually get to 79. What do you do? So Fisk is a +4 in the outfield and a +5 at catcher.
Yeah,
Right.
so there you go.
That's
Yeah,
a 2E10, but a +5.
That year they stole 24 out of 29 against him, which is 17%.
Where he was a -2 the year before. So he went from -2 to +5.
Yeah, you look at all his other seasonal rates, even when he was, all the way until his very last year when he was 45, he caught 8%. He caught 2 out of 24. But other than that, he's always up 25% was a low.
He was even a -1 the year after that.
Yes,
so it was an aberrational year. I hadn't remembered the Fisk thing. I remembered there's a couple of guys from his story that may have had a +5 or +4 back in the day. But yeah, that's an anomaly. But again, it's how do you take real life and try to put it into the simulation in a way that's going to be used as realistically as possible also. So, I mean, different teams, different leagues, whatever league you play in Strat's going to have different rules on usage. Some, like when we played in college, it was like, if he played and he's got a card and he had a minimum number of bats that we said you could use or whatever, then you could use him as much as you wanted to. Some leagues, if he has 180 plate appearances, that's how many you're allowed to use him. So you've got to be judicious about using them. And others, you kind of figure it out that way. So when Strat designs it, they're really doing it based on an as played. And how was it played during that season? Fisk didn't catch. Harper didn't play the outfield. How do you translate that? You can't. You gotta put him where he's unplayable. Obviously, you can play him in the outfield. Love to put him out there, see what a season is like, having somebody with a +5 and a 4 in the outfield the whole time. But you don't have to do that.
So the 4 is like a modicum of respect because he probably wouldn't be a 4 if he was playing out there. He might not be a 1 or even a 2, but he certainly wouldn't be a 4. And then the 5, the +5 arm just makes it like, you're like, okay, I can't, like, I could mess around with them for like an inning, but that's it. Like I can't. And if somebody gets on base, like I got to take him out. You can't, if God forbid it goes
You
to
can't even risk that. No.
Okay, so that was good. We got that in at the very, very end. The stars aligned for us in the NL East episode. We need you to go and find whatever division it is that you like, or we just tried to break it down this year in a little easier spoonfuls for you to digest. And I think we've done that so far. There's a few left here, but you could be listening to these out of order. You could listen to them over and over. If you want to catch the others, make sure you hit the subscribe or the follow buttons on whichever outlet you are checking us out. And if you're just one of those who likes to listen to the audio, hopefully we're doing a good enough job here without the benefit of the video. You're missing my New Jersey Devils jersey. Got the Nico Hischier with the captain C.
Rocking Fordhams.
Yeah, Fordhams for Jerry and the Dawg. And you'll probably see these for the rest of the National League if you haven't already. So follow Jerry
and if you're listening to this multiple times, I think the Dawg will send you a hat.
Wow.
So hit me up in the DMs. You earned a hat, my friend.
Dawg DMs open, baby. Follow Jerry at GB Pack Jerry. Follow the Dawg at Jeff Healy 8. That's the number 8. And you can follow me at Diamond Diehards. And Diamond Diehards is available on all social media outlets. So whichever one is your preferred one, go check us out there. We appreciate your support. That is going to wrap it up for the NL East with the nice little surprise. I didn't expect to be talking about Carlton Fisk, but we did that. Hall of Famer at the end. So pretty good episode. You never know where Diamond Diehards is going to take you, but for now, it is going to take us home. For Jerry Milani and the Dawg Jeff Healy, this is Joe Rizzo. Diamond Diehards is out.